Among the landmarks of Louisiana, there are many faded reminders of what we've lost or even forgotten. Old stores and signs can still be found along the smaller roads. These are nearly a century old. This bank was once an institution here in Garyville. But an institution doesn't have to be 100 years old for us to lament its passing. Traditions that have made us who we are disappearing before our eyes, and nothing, it seems, can be done. For example,
hello darkness, my old friend, I've come to talk with you again.
Louisiana State University, 1994. Alumni usually return only on weekends for football games and usually see only the flag-waving boosterism. Public concern for the old war school which ebbs and flows with the scoreboard. But in the middle of the week, when students are busy, there is another venue for a frenetic outpouring of championism. This also is a coliseum, but of words and thought. This is Free Speech Alley.
If I write a book that will endanger your life, that will endanger your dignity, your integrity, and you tell me that is free speech, you see, it is free speech.
Well, genetically, you run faster than I run?
No, it's impossible.
Okay, but it would be okay if y'all had stronger legs and ran faster.
For 30 years now, this has been the students' crucible of argument and showmanship. Every Wednesday for 30 years, this has been an informal classroom, a gathering place for kindred, if amateur, philosophers, the incubator of protest. Rodney Kennan, like hundreds of other alley regulars, remembers.
I came out here from high school, skipping high school as it were, and I found Free Speech Alley. It was a knockout. There were 2,000 or 3,000 people out here. They were arguing about states' rights and black and white and Vietnam. I think it was Woody Jenkins and David Duke. They were going at it tooth and toenail.
A lot of alumni remember. We'd better remember, because even on beautiful fall semester afternoons, and even with so much in the world to talk about, the students no longer come. Free Speech Alley is dying. Louisiana State University, 1964. The same beautiful fall semester afternoons. This is where the alley began. In a breezeway under the new Union building, idealistic students with minimalist aesthetic sensibilities set up a sturdy black box. It was the modern representation of the fabled soapbox from which politicians and salesmen had customarily hawked promises and snake oil. These students were different. They would hawk persuasion and sell ideas to their peers.
Not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
A few years before, John Kennedy had ignited the nation's collective optimism, and more students enrolled in college than ever before. The children of the post-war baby boom were tipping the nation's demography towards youth. And youth is always idealistic. When lawmakers at the state capitol got wind of some of the things being said about society, about capitalism, about them, the vice of political pressure tightened. The university, some legislators said, was sponsoring communist philosophy. Some students at the alley had talked about communism. Some even said they were communist. It seemed free speech was laudable as long as it wasn't that free. The union dropped its sponsorship. The students officially could not hold this forum. But oh yes, they did. Are as important as eternal salvation. The other half said salvation was worthless and nirvana was a good football seat.
Like everything else that I've been through, they opened up my eyes, and now I'm one toe over the line, sweet Jesus, one toe over the line.
By the late 60s, marijuana was being smoked right out in the open at Free Speech Alley. In 1967, this is how the chancellor was photographed for the yearbook. Odd, but telling. In 1987, the chancellor was hung in effigy at Free Speech Alley. In the 90s, an old alley regular returned to the cradle of his public speaking career to campaign for governor. College changes all young people, of course. But for 30 years, this weekly event put a spin on formal education for thousands of us.
Oh yeah, she's the second generation Free Speech Alley dog. Her mother would be probably 20 years old now. And she made the paper, I think, one week 12 times.
Now, a concert of pre-recorded music on the parade grounds attracts more followers than the alley. It's called a Good Wednesday when 50 students show, and we can fix no specific blame. We used to think the alley might be shut down by the university, as the legislature had once tried. We took the forum that seriously. But then young people, to their credit, take their opinions seriously. We all learned eventually that the establishment didn't take as keen an interest as we imagined. The professors, it turned out, were often graduates of this same crucible. Yet to this day, none of the alley's founders, nor inheritants, ever imagined it would end with a whimper. No one in 30 years thought this fury would, by 1994, be ignored as an obsolete zeitgeist.
It's as if somebody just took everybody who had any interest in saying their view and just moved them to a different campus or something.
It wouldn't matter. We could come gather together in a group of 100 even and gripe about parking, and it wouldn't matter. We're not getting any response from the things that we bring up about campus issues here.
I think that we're a lot more dependent on outer stimulation, you know. We need a lot more to get our attention focused on.
I think they're getting numbed out by everything.
Desensitized.
Desensitized to anything, just about. I mean, it takes something really dramatic to get anybody's attention.
One of my professors gave us a little survey on current events, and the whole class failed it, with the exception of me and 2 or 3 other people. And it was just pathetic. I mean, this is things people should have known. I mean, simple things. They weren't complex questions, and we don't know what's going on. We're sitting in our dorm rooms or apartments watching Beavis and Butthead instead of the news, and we don't care.
I don't think that's it even. I really don't. Of course, the kids have gotten everything that we fought for. I mean, no draft, no wars, no they're sleeping next to the girls so they don't have any panty raids anymore.
Students created the alley from nothing but intellect and courage. Students sustained the alley through adversity and apathy. And unless students no longer like to argue, unless young people have given up on each other, we will perhaps soon again hear freedom roar.
What you could expect.